Alright, and welcome to the ultimate guide to mid-segments. So, what in the world is a mid-segment? Well, it is a line segment connecting two midpoints. So go ahead, write down this definition. And let's just go ahead and draw a picture just to show what it looks like. So if I take a midpoint here, we know that those two pieces must be congruent to each other. And I take a midpoint over here, so that piece is congruent to that piece. And then I connect them with a line segment. Well, that right there is what we would consider a mid-segment. Now, a mid-segment actually has two properties. Okay, so what is property number one? Property number one is it is parallel to the base, and we can denote that by showing an arrow right there and an arrow right there, okay? And two, we know that it is half the length of the base. Now let's just use a very simple example. If the base is 20 inches long, how long is the midsegment? Well, what's half of 10? Oh, I'm sorry, what's half of 20? And that would be 10 inches. Ta-da, easy. Now let's go ahead and put this in practice, and let's see this with a couple of examples. Okay, in example number one, it says find the length of BC when given point D and point E are midpoints. Okay, so if that is a midpoint and that is a midpoint, well, that must imply that that is, in fact, a mid-segment. Okay, and so let's see, let's label this. DE is 8x inches long, and BC is 20x minus 40. Okay, so we can set this up something like this. Let's say I were to say 8x is equal to 20x minus 40. Is that a true or false statement? Well, hopefully you would say, hey, that is a false statement. Remember, this mid-segment is half the length of the base. And so my question to you would be this: how many halves does it take to make a whole? Well, of course, it takes 2. Okay? And so basically what we want to do is we want to go ahead and just multiply that by 2 in order to make this true. Okay, so 2 times 8x is, of course, 16x is now equal to 20x minus 40. And this is another interesting problem because normally I would encourage you to move these smaller x. However, in this particular case, I only have an x and a constant on the right side. Let's just move this x right here. Let's move the larger x, minus 20x, minus 20x. And 16x minus 20x is negative 4x, which is equal to negative 40. And then from there, to get the x by itself, well, of course, we divide both sides by negative 4. And we get this. X is equal to negative 40 divided by negative 4 is 10. Perfect. Now, the problem is asking you to find the length of BC. And notice BC is, in fact, the base. Okay, so if BC is that 20x minus 40, 20x minus 40, I can plug in that 10, and now we can just solve for the length of BC. 20 times 10 is 200 minus 40, and 200 minus 40, we know that the length of BC is equal to 160 inches in this case. Nice and easy. Let's go ahead and do one more together, and then I'll turn you guys loose. Okay, for problem number 2, it says find the length of DE given, and they give us some different notation here. AD is congruent to DB, so AD is congruent to DB, and AE is congruent to EC. Okay, well, what that is actually telling us is that E is a midpoint and D is a midpoint, and if those are two midpoints, well, we know that that must be a mid-segment. Okay, it's just another way of saying it. Now, in this case, DE is 5x plus 12, and BC is 12x minus 10. And of course, we want to set these equivalent. 5x plus 12 is equal to 12x minus 10. But notice they're not actually equal. What do we have to multiply the mid-segment by? Well, we have to multiply it by 2. Okay, and from here we just have pretty simple algebra. We can distribute first. 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 times 12 is 24. this is equal to 12x minus 10. And from here, now we have an x and a constant, or a variable and a constant on both sides. What do you want to move first, your variable or your constant? And we want to move our variable. So let's do minus 10x minus 10x. In this case, we can use the smaller x, it's preferred. And now we have 24 is equal to 12x minus 10x is 2x minus 10. And solving for x, we can add 10 and add 10. And let's bring this up here. We now have 24 plus 10 is 34 is equal to 2x. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to 17. Now from here it says find the length of DE. Notice DE is in fact our midsegment. I'll say, okay, our midsegment is 5 parentheses x plus 12, where our x value is 17. If you would like, I would encourage you to use a calculator. But let's see, 5 times 17 is going to be 85. Y'all can double check me. 85 plus 12. And we get this. We get DE is equal, is equal to, here, let's do that backwards. DE is equal to 97 centimeters in this case, paying attention to those labels. Okay, I hope that this video helps, and I'll catch you in our next video.